Hello, I'm Keith Hocton, author, historian, and host of Rearview Mirror Chronicles, where we take a look back at the people and the moments that shaped our world through history. Hello. Here's a question that I get asked on a regular basis, and I would have given you a different answer had it not been for recent research. So let this sit with you for a moment. You think you know where the name America comes from, don't you? Amerigo Vespucci, the Italian explorer. He sailed to the New World. He got a continent named after him. Job done, move on. Except, and this is the part that nobody tells you, it's almost now certainly wrong. And once I show you why, you won't be able to unknow it. So let's start with the accepted version. The story goes like this. Amerigo Vespucci was a Florentine explorer, and he made several voyages to the New World around the turn of the 16th century. In 1507, a German cartographer named Martin Waldseemüller published a map, the first map to use the word America. And in the accompanying text, he actually credited Vespucci with the discovery of the new landmass. Waldseemüller named it after him. He named it America, from Amerigo. And the rest, they say, is history. Except it kind of isn't done and dusted now, not even remotely. Because here's the problem, and it's a problem that historians have known about for a long time without it ever really making it into popular story. But the question has been asked. Countries, territories, continents, newly discovered lands were never, and I mean absolutely never, named after a person's Christian name, their first name. Never. Unless that person was royalty. So let's just think about it, and we'll run through a very quick list. Abel Tasman, one of the great Dutch navigators. He was the first European to reach New Zealand, Fiji, Tonga. He sailed around Australia without even knowing what it was. And what did they name after him? Tasmania. Van Diemen's Land came first, named after the Governor-General of the Dutch East Indies, Anthony Van Diemen, his surname. Not Anthony Land. The Cook Islands, named after Captain James Cook. His surname. The Straits of Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan. Magellan, surname. Vasco da Gama, the Cape of Good Hope, wasn't named after Vasco. It was named after da Gama. And the one exception that actually proves the rule, Prince Edward Island, named after Prince Edward, Duke of Kent, son of King George III, royal. The only time a Christian name, a first name, gets attached to a piece of geography is when it belongs to someone of royal blood. So, ask yourself this. If Amerigo Vespucci had genuinely discovered America, or had the continent named in his honor by the conventions of the time, what would it have been called? Vespucci, not America, but Vespucci. That's how it works. And that's how it's worked every single time. So where does the name actually come from? Well, this is where it actually gets really, really interesting. And this is where we meet a man almost nobody has heard of. He's a Welshman. He's a merchant. A man who, by all accounts, was rather good at making money and rather serious about getting things done. His name was Richard Amerike, sometimes spelled Amerik, A-M-E-R-Y-K, but mostly A-M-E-R-I-C-K, Amerik or Amerike. And his name in the Welsh tradition almost certainly is derived from son of Maurice, and that's the anglicized version. Richard Amerike was the chief customs officer in Bristol in the late 15th century. Bristol at that time was one of the most important ports in England. It wasn't London, it wasn't glamorous, but it was connected, it was commercial, and it was from Bristol that some of the most consequential voyages of the age of exploration were actually being organized. So in 1497, a Venetian-born explorer sailing under the English crown set out from the port of Bristol. His name was Giovanni Caboto. We know him as John Cabot. And his voyage, the voyage that took him to the coast of North America, a full year before Vespucci got anywhere near it. And it was funded in part by Richard Amerigo. Now, here's where the story and the theory, I think, actually gains some teeth. It was common practice at the time for explorers and navigators to name newly discovered lands after their patrons, the people who actually paid for the voyage, the people who took the financial risk, if you like. Richard Amerigo was Cabot's primary financial backer. He was also, as chief customs officer, the king's representative in the whole enterprise. So his name, Amerigo, became America. And look, I know not everyone is going to accept this theory, and I want to be honest about that. There are historians who remain committed to the Vespucci explanation. And, the Waldseer-Muller map is actually a genuine piece of evidence that simply can't be dismissed. But the naming conventions argument is a powerful one, genuinely powerful, because it isn't a matter of interpretation. It's a matter of documented historical practice. You simply didn't name a continent after someone's first name. There's one more detail I find quietly compelling. Richard Amerigo's coat of arms, it actually features the stars and stripes. Now, look, I'm not going to overstate that. Coats of arms with stars and stripes, they weren't uncommon. And I'm not suggesting some mythical connection to the American flag. But when you're building a circumstantial case, circumstantial details have a way of accumulating. A Welsh merchant, a British customs officer, a financial backer of the first English voyage to North America. A surname that sounds, with very little effort, I have to say, exactly like the name the continent came to bear. And a system of geological naming that makes Amerigo Vespucci as the explanation impossible. History loves its tidy stories, and Amerigo Vespucci is a very tidy story. He's an Italian explorer, the New World, name on a map. The rest is history. But the Richard Amerigo theory is messier. It actually requires you to know about Bristol's merchant class in the 1490s, about the Welsh naming conventions, about the difference between a Christian name and a surname in the context of geological honor. It's messier, yes, but in my experience, it's usually always closer to the truth. So the next time someone tells you America was actually named after Amerigo Vespucci, smile and ask them one question. If that's true, why isn't it called Vespucci? Thanks for listening in, folks. Bye for now.